I cannot go outside. This is not just a statement. This is a reality that I have been living with for years. My name is Rialto. I'm from Bangladesh and I'm almost 30. Today, I want to share my personal journey, the battles that I've faced, and the solutions that I found in my battle against panic disorder and agoraphobia. It all started with the death of my father, who was my superhero. He was the only person that I could communicate with at the time. After his early death, I stopped talking to people entirely. I had a very hard time to communicate with other people, and this left a void in my life. Then fast forward a few years, I went to the Cox's Bazar for a fun family vacation. But as I was trying to get near the sea, I realized that my hands started to shake. And then I started to realize that my hands were going numb and I was losing control over my hands and my feet. So I fell down and started punching the sand and crying for help until my family noticed me, and after a few minutes, I realized that those symptoms were gone. But little did I know, this was the beginning of a restless battle with panic disorder. At the time, I didn't really pay any attention to this disease, and I thought that it was just another one of those things that people have once or twice in their lives. But then I started to have these attacks whenever I went to school, whenever I attended an exam, or even when I went to visit any of my family's homes. These attacks were random and had little to no relation with actual depression. So I went to a few doctors and they gave me some medicine, and for almost 3 years, nothing actually happened. I finished my school, I finished my college, and then it was time for me to go to university. So after I graduated from my college, it was time for me to move from Singh to the capital of Bangladesh, which was Dhaka. So I got admitted into Daffodil International University, and I was studying there, and I was actually having a good time. But unexpectedly, my disorder came back to haunt me. One night, when I was in the hall of Daffodil International University, I woke up at midnight with a full-blown panic attack. It was awful. I started to scream, I started to panic, it felt like I couldn't breathe, my heart was squeezing, and it was beating so fast that I felt like death had come for me. So the good people of that hall picked me up and rushed me to an ambulance, and then I went to a hospital. So I started to have these attacks again, and at the time, I really wanted to run away from my university because I couldn't bear it anymore. Because for me, a public panic attack or being weak in front of my friends isn't something that I could take lightly. But in an unexpected turn of events, my friends became very concerned about my matters. They started to look for good doctors. They started to give me emotional therapy. They started to talk to me more. They even helped me to change my room so I could be near them more. And I must say, without their help, I would have never graduated from that university. I would have ran away because I was terrified. So after my university days were over, I started to look for jobs. At the time, I was convinced that these panic attacks were behind me. But in an unexpected turn of events, they returned. And I felt like my ability to do a 9-to-5 regular job was being taken from me. And the one thing that I feared most was to have a public panic attack while I was alone. And guess what? That nightmare turned into a reality. One day I was outside just looking for some groceries, and then, boom, a panic attack came, and it was a full-blown attack. I couldn't breathe, my hands were going numb, my heart was squeezing, my body was burning. The fear of death started to eat me alive, and I started to ask for help from people around me, but everyone just stared at me. They didn't come to my aid, they didn't ask me what was wrong, they were just looking at me. So I called up my brother, and then he came rushing to the scene, and then he took me to a hospital. But it took him quite some time to come and rescue me, and the damage of that attack was insane. And then I noticed that these symptoms just kept on coming and going, and I was very afraid to leave the house because at that time I thought that if I took a step outside of my house, I would get another attack. And guess what? I did. So then I realized that my ability to go outside and to do a 9-to-5 job was taken from me. And I didn't want to risk my life every day just so I could go to my office and get some money at the end of the month. So I started to investigate online about what was actually happening to me. Now, the shocking part was I didn't know what this disease was called. So after Googling, I learned that this was actually called panic attack. And I was suffering from a panic disorder. So after changing a lot of doctors, I finally found a good doctor who actually helped me to understand my conditions and actually trained me to do certain things when I was faced with these attacks. So one of the things that he taught me was to slow down my breathing.
Naruto, what's the matter? Calm down, Naruto.
He's hyperventilating.
Slow your breathing down.
During a panic attack, a person hyperventilates, that he starts to inhale more oxygen because he thinks that he is not getting sufficient oxygen in the lungs, but in reality what he is doing is overloading his lungs with oxygen. So during an attack, one must always slow down their breathing. They must inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth, and also count to 5, count to 6 while doing so. So this little technique was one of the first things that helped me to start my battle against my disorder. And also, a very good effective technique was to just call up someone during an attack and just talk about life and forget that you are having this sort of attacks in the first place. And this is very effective. Just talk for 2 minutes and then your attacks will just go away. For me, it feels like whenever I try to fight back, it grabs me like a snake. But when I try to distract my mind with conversations, it starts to reduce. So after that, I realized that I had to make money somehow. So I started to work for different YouTubers. So I started to make videos for YouTubers in the comfort of my home and started to earn money. Later, I got a scholarship in the NAS Academy Creator Accelerator program, and at the end of the course, I got first prize for making the best Creator Accelerator program video. And this was a huge achievement for me, and because of this course, I was able to turn my life around and I was able to turn my passion into my profession. But in Bangladesh, people don't take mental health seriously. And if they realize that you have this sort of disease or this sort of disorder, then women will actually try to ignore you. They won't try to marry you, and people will look at you like you're some sort of a crazy man, and it gets to the point where everything gets ridiculous. And the purpose of this video was to share my experiences, my problems, and some of my solutions. Now the bottom line is that panic disorder can never be cured, but we can reach a point where when we can easily control these attacks when it happens. Now everyone has a different story, and this disorder varies from person to person, but with the help of medical science and with the help of therapists and of course your willpower, it is possible to live a fulfilling life. This video was made to raise awareness about this disease, that people like this actually exists, and this is a real disease. A lot of people fight monsters that other people believe don't exist. But at the end of the day, we can't let our disabilities define who we want to be. Now, as for me, I do have trouble getting outside of the house, but that doesn't stop me to regain my confidence. Every now and then, I try to go outside, and I sometimes get these attacks, and I rush back home. And to be honest, life is very difficult when you have a disorder like this one. But like I said, I'm not giving up because I know that I'm not alone, and you are not alone too. And hopefully you and I can overcome this disability.